Part 4. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 32. There are some broken walls scattered around, it seems that they were destroyed by violence. I found the broken entrance to the void battlefield. Will it be repaired? Wang Shuo tried to repair it. Repair the void battlefield portal, void shuttle stone 1/1, stone 555/100, energy crystal 1832/500. After thinking for a long time, Wang Shuo agreed to repair it. After all, in this game world where people are struggling to survive, blindly giving in is not a good choice. The void battlefield portal is under repair and is expected to take 48 hours. Wang Shuo also used the terrain changing scroll to transform this entire area into land. After all, he would visit this place frequently in the future. After doing this, the system prompts again. You have completely controlled the territory, and the fog disappears within the territory. In an instant, the sky brightened, and he saw the long-lost sun in the sky. Wang Shuo felt that the oppressive atmosphere before disappeared without a trace in an instant. Even breathing became much easier. Back home, the inner wall around the residence was also built. It was thicker than before, giving Wang Shuo a huge sense of security. Tomorrow we will build the outer walls and build a few more arrow towers and energy towers, which will make it safer. Wang Shuo came to the workshop and made another 1000 bronze keys. Currently, Wang Shuo is not the only one selling keys in the trading house, but the price of the keys has not dropped and remains at 2 gold coins. Wang Shuo's gold coins also exceeded 200 again, and he hung up another 100 keys. After doing this, he was so sleepy that he quickly fell asleep. The next morning, Wang Shuo continued to burn the kiln to make fire bricks. He also took the time to make the excess cotton into cotton-padded clothes, quilts, and other materials. He also put some unused materials such as adobe bricks and tiles into the trading house. By noon, these supplies brought Wang Shuo another 600 gold coins. By this time, he had accumulated 854 gold coins and 40,000 fire bricks. At this moment, the system prompt sounded. You have made a total of 50,000 pieces of pottery and understood the ceramic making process. Wang Shuo opened the synthesis formula. There are many more ceramic synthesis formulas in it. There are porcelain bowls, porcelain plates, etc. Not long after, the system reminded him that his Harmony Mud skill had also been upgraded. Heli Mud, level 3, consumes 2 points of spiritual power, used on a 10 cubic meter mud pit or silt field to separate the soil and water, and obtain clay and water no skill CD. This time, the speed at which he obtained the clay was greatly accelerated again. It's an unexpected surprise. The number of fire bricks required to build all the outer walls is about 100,000. There is also a lot of other cement and sand, and there is no way to collect them all today. He chose to build the south, north, and west walls first. He now has 6 kilns and can make 60,000 fire bricks in one day. He worked until evening to build a wall of 20,000 bricks. Excluding the fire bricks exchanged for cement, he still has 60,000 bricks in his warehouse. Early the next morning, Wang Shuo discovered that there was an additional task in the task column. To hope is at dawn. There will be a huge flood on the morning of the 13th, 3 days later, so all players should be prepared. When Wang Shuo saw this mission, his face looked grim. Combined with the prediction in the diary, it seemed that this flood was not simple. With an uneasy feeling, he first checked the void battlefield portal. On a huge stone platform, a 3-meter high and 5-meter wide starry sky gate stood in front of me, shining with dazzling brilliance. Taking a step forward again, there is a system prompt. Are you entering the void battlefield? Wang Shuo did not step in. Since the flood was coming, Wang Shuo still planned to build the wall first, which might be able to fight against the flood. And what was inside the stargate made him a little afraid. At this time, the crops in the backyard can also be harvested. Tomato add 50, wheat add 100, rice add 100. I sow some seeds conveniently, so that I can harvest again 2 days later. Returning to his residence, he packed his backpack. Yesterday he felt that his backpack was not enough. So I found the synthetic formula for an intermediate backpack. Intermediate backpack, 20 coarse cloth add 2 ropes. Each intermediate backpack can provide 200 grids, and these materials are a piece of cake for Wangshuo now. Made directly. Intermediate backpack add 1. I made 6 of them in one go, it was so awesome. Directly increase the number of system backpacks to 1220 grids. At this time, in the trading house, the items that Wangshuo consigned yesterday were basically cleared, and he got another 170 gold coins. As a result, his total gold coins reached 1024, as well as more than 900 bronze keys. He wanted to accumulate more funds and summon the travelers. So another 200 keys were hung up in the trading house. Then I got back into the work of firing bricks and building a fence. Wangshuo currently has level 3 mud and clay skills, and his ability to collect clay is very strong. There is plenty of time to bake 60,000 fire bricks every day. And building a wall is very simple, just like putting the bricks in your backpack directly on the wall. In this way, Wangshuo filled the 6 brick kilns with clay again in the morning, and continued to build the wall in the afternoon. Wangshuo used 10,000 of the 30,000 fire bricks made today to exchange for cement. It only took 1 day for Wangshuo to build the wall. Looking at the huge project in front of him, Wangshuo couldn't believe that he could build a 3-meter-high wall in 2 days. This is not much worse than the infrastructure maniac. The survival system of survivors is indeed like a sparrow pecking a cow's butt, the sparrow eats the cow. In the evening, Wangshuo enjoyed the food while thinking about future plans. He was also a little uneasy in his heart. Is the wall he built useful? Seeing the torrential flood, he was not confident for a while. He had seen the biggest flood, but it submerged an entire city, leaving only a few of the highest landmarks. This horrifying scene is still fresh in Wangshuo's memory. To be on the safe side, Wangshuo felt that he should accumulate more funds and summon peddlers before the flood came to see if there was a better way. Open the backpack, now I finally have time, I can study it carefully, the harvest of killing the bronze boss. Flame Spear Construction Blueprint, One-time consumption blueprint 1 refined iron ingot add 1 mithril add 1 iron wood, requires 1 flame rune enchantment. Wangshuo was stunned when he saw the introduction of this blueprint. I have never heard of the first 3 materials, so you can imagine how difficult it is to obtain them. I have heard of the last flame rune enchantment from the mercenary Wang Yanbing, but I have no idea what it is. This is very difficult. I had no choice but to put the blueprint into the backpack, and took out the treasure map fragments and observed them carefully. On an unknown animal skin, a very abstract pattern was painted with black raw materials, and some mountains and rivers were vaguely visible. Wangshuo naturally didn't know what these terrains represented, and he studied for a long time but got nothing. If he could collect the 3 incomplete treasure maps, he should be able to get some useful clues. Finally, he remembered that he also got a skill book, Eye of Delusion. After clicking on Learn, open the character information and find this skill. Eye of Delusion, a reconnaissance skill that can detect information about wild monsters and players, see through illusions, resist enchantment, and can be upgraded. This is a good skill. Is there a fox demon in this world that can cast enchantment spells? Wangshuo couldn't help but think about it. If he could catch a few and keep them as pets, that would be great. Tisk tisk. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 33. Finally, there are 5 treasure chests. Wangshuo suddenly became excited and opened the blind box. He took out 5 bronze keys from the warehouse and opened 5 bronze boxes one by one. The first box only had 500 units of feathers, which made Wang Shuo a little excited. In this way, he could make a lot of arrows. The next 4 boxes had a total of 200 gold coins, 1000 salt, 600 iron ore, and a telescope. Telescope can increase vision. Wang Shuo took the telescope in his hand and found that his vision did not change. There was no fog in his territory, so it was almost full vision. He closed one eye and looked through the telescope with the other eye, and the effect was immediate. Wang Shuo could see trees farther away, and the clarity was as if they were right in front of him. As for how far he could see, Wang Shuo could not test it for the time being. Because his territory is currently only 500 meters in radius, within this range, it can be seen clearly with the naked eye, and there is no need for this telescope, but Wang Shuo believes that this thing will definitely be of great use in the future. Wang Shuo is still very satisfied with this prop. On the morning of the 11th day, the sky looked extremely gloomy, and the heavy leaden clouds made people breathless. Seeing this strange phenomenon, Wang Shuo looked solemn, and he hesitated whether to summon the traveling merchants now. Wang Shuo also planned to put aside the energy tower that he originally planned to build for a while. No matter what, Wang Shuo directly used the flowing clouds to gather the traveling merchants to summon the scroll. I saw a flash of golden light in front of me, and a man riding a camel slowly walked out of the dazzling light. The man was slender, his face was slightly red, and he was wearing a headscarf on his head. His exposed eyes were a little sky blue. There were still some traces of wind and sand on his heavy robe. The camel behind him was unusually huge, with a small attic the size of a millstone built directly between the 2 humps. "Hello, Lord. I am Hadro, a peddler from Liuyunji." Hadro bowed to Wang Shuo, saluted, and smiled. "I feel your call, and I come to serve you." "Hello, Mr. Hadro." "Welcome." Wang Shuo took a few steps forward and wanted to go up and shake hands with the other party, but he suddenly stopped. In this strange world, it is better to keep a certain distance from strangers. "I don't know what you need to buy when you summon the peddler," Hadro said, and on a piece of open space, he muttered something in his mouth, and with one hand, the small attic on the hump flew to the open space and turned into a 2-story building. The magical scene in front of him stunned Wang Shuo. Hadro took the initiative to explain, "This is the foundation of our business, a shop that can change size. Only with it can we have the qualifications of a business." "Lord, please." Hadro entered the shop first. Wang Shuo hesitated for a moment, but followed him in. Entering the shop, he found a different world. From the outside, it looks like a small house of only 10 square meters, but the hall inside can accommodate 40 or 50 people without being crowded at all. In the hall, there are many shelves, and most of the goods on the shelves are packed in boxes. You can't see the real objects inside, only a name on the box. "Lord, what do you need?" "I have weapons, blueprints, scrolls, and everything here. If you have supplies to sell, I will buy them." Hearing the other party calling him Lord, Wang Shuo was very happy. He followed Hadro to the counter. "It's the first time I do business with you. Can you take me to visit your shop?" Wang Shuo looked at the goods here, and he didn't recognize 8 out of 10. "Excuse me, dear guest, I am rude," Hadro apologized quickly. It turned out that the lord in front of him was still a rookie. So Hadro took Wang Shuo and walked between the shelves, carefully introducing his goods. Wang Shuo was also very satisfied. Hadro's attitude was surprisingly good. An hour later, Wang Shuo had a basic understanding of the situation here. It turned out that Hadro was a member of the newly established Li Chamber of Commerce in Liuyunji. Due to his outstanding business ability, he was promoted to a peddler, which is equivalent to a business promoter, or a peddler walking around the streets. This is much better than being a clerk in a store. This is a profession that many refugees dream of, but this profession is also very dangerous. Wandering between various forces, buying and selling, you will also encounter various wild beasts and extreme weather, and even encounter robbers. Each peddler will have an identity sensor card. Within a certain range, as long as someone nearby uses the peddler's summoning scroll, they can choose whether to accept the summoning. Just now, Hadro was still in a desert area, worrying about his customers. Feeling someone calling him, Hadro agreed to the request directly. Usually the situation means that it is time for them to make a fortune. Unless it is an emergency, they will not choose to summon peddlers. One is the future lord and the other is a newly promoted peddler. The two chatted very happily. "Lord, I didn't expect that you are qualified to summon peddlers while you are still in the novice trial stage. I admire you. As far as I know, most players have to wait until they build a village before they have the chance to summon me. It was also by chance that I got such a scroll." Hadro took out a list, which was called a list, but it was actually a thick book. Wang Shuo took the book and opened it. It was full of various commodities, including resources, buildings, pets. The items above made Wang Shuo's eyes open and his heart was moved. Breadfruit tree seeds, you can plant a breadfruit tree, which will provide 100 units of bread in 2 days. Sweet potato seeds, you can grow 100 units of sweet potatoes in 2 days. Bronze long sword, excellent level weapon, attack power at 20, durability 30/30ths, common standard weapon in the army. 100-step piercing bow, excellent level weapon, attack power at 10, agility at 8, durability 30/30ths, common standard weapon in the army. The advantage of standard weapons is that the materials are common, easy to mass produce, and relatively easy to repair. Brute force, cultivation method, a total of 9 levels, each level provides strength add 2, constitution add 1. Panlong step, cultivation method, a total of 7 levels, each level provides agility add 2, using Panlong step, can instantly increase your own agility add 10, lasting for 10 minutes. Wang Shuo was dazzled by the dazzling array of items. Wang Shuo roughly browsed and did not look closely. There were seeds of various crops, various ores, as well as barracks, war horses, catapults, crossbows, skill books. Wang Shuo was breathing rapidly after seeing this. Wang Shuo wanted all these things, but each one was very valuable. He was really poor. Wang Shuo calmed down. Through these supplies, Wang Shuo also roughly knew that the future would definitely be an era of war. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 34. He looked at his backpack and found that he was really short of money. There were not many things he could afford now, so he had to be frugal. As for those good skills and cultivation methods, he would consider them after he had overcome the flood crisis. In desperation, Wang Shuo had to choose the items that he needed most urgently at the moment. A defensive item called Waterproof Sky Curtain and Energy Converter. Both of these things were urgently needed by Wang Shuo, but they were not cheap. The Energy Converter cost 500 gold coins, while the Waterproof Sky Curtain was even more expensive, requiring 1,000 gold coins. Hadro had also experienced the novice trial, and he implicitly revealed that the scale of the upcoming flood would definitely exceed Wang Shuo's cognition. At the same time, he reminded Wang Shuo that during the trial, he must maximize his strength so that he could be in an advantageous position and not be eliminated. The trial stage is changing rapidly, and it is normal for latecomers to be ahead. Wang Shuo thought about it and felt that what Hadro said made sense. It seemed that he had to buy it. But he didn't have enough gold coins now. "Mr. Hadro, I wonder if you would accept these things." Wang Shuo directly talked about the materials he currently had. Energy crystals, this is a better hard currency than gold coins, and soul crystals, this is even more valuable. Wang Shuo realized the value of these two things. Even outside the trial space, soul crystals are rare and good things. Wang Shuo was confident, and suddenly Wang Shuo thought of something and asked, Mr. Hadro, do you have a purification scroll here? Of course I have this kind of thing, it is a must-have for mercenaries, as he said. Hadro took out a scroll from a drawer. Then Wang Shuo asked again, do you have fine iron, mithril, ironwood, and fire rune enchantment? Lord, do you want to make equipment? Yes. Hadro laughed and said, Lord, I do have one ironwood, but I don't have fine iron and mithril for the time being. However, as far as I know, the fire rune enchantment must be made by a blacksmith. May I ask, Lord, is it a blacksmith? Ah, Wang Shuo was surprised. It seems that even if he gathered all the materials, he couldn't make it. Thinking of this, Wang Shuo couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Lord, I have another thing, I'm sure you will like it. As he said, he took out a scroll from a box on the shelf. Thought Stamp Scroll. Thought Stamp, a means used by lords to control refugees. It can forcibly implant an irresistible thought in the soul of others, which requires both parties to be willing. This is indeed a good thing. As a lord, you must accept refugees, and how to ensure their loyalty is a big problem that many lords have a headache about. Shaoqing, Wang Shuo has chosen the goods. The most expensive waterproof sky shading curtain needs to be exchanged for a soul crystal, and the others are paid with gold coins. Energy converter add 1, waterproof sky shading curtain add 1, ironwood add 1, purification scroll add 1, thought steel stamp scroll add 1, soul crystal -1, gold coins -1200. The two parties reached a deal. Before Hadro left, he gave Wang Shuo another summoning scroll for the traveling merchant. This summoning scroll is a designated summoning, which means that it can only summon Hadro. Wang Shuo is now one of his customers. Hadro put away the attic and opened a light gate again. This light gate is very similar to the Starry Sky Gate in the Void battlefield. Seeing the portal in front of him, Wang Shuo wondered if he could pass through this light gate and leave this novice trial space. As if seeing through Wang Shuo's thoughts, Hadro said, Lord, you are now in the protection period of novice training, and you cannot go to our big world. Wang Shuo still did not give up, took a step forward, and found that he could not enter the light gate. Well, Mr. Hadro, goodbye. I look forward to seeing you next time. Wang Shuo's farewell was like a promise with himself that he must live until the next meeting. As you wish, Lord, I look forward to seeing you again. Hadro said, rode on the camel, walked into the light gate, and disappeared. After a few seconds, the light gate also disappeared, as if it had never appeared. But just a few minutes ago, while the two were not paying attention, a little thing ran out of Hadro's attic, and in the blink of an eye, it hid in Wang Shuo's territory. In the sky, thick clouds rolled, with a momentum of black clouds pressing down on the city and destroying it. Now that the key items to upgrade the shelter were in hand, Wang Shuo hurried to the brick kiln to make fire bricks and tiles. It would be best if the shelter could be upgraded to another level before the flood came. When the fire in the brick kiln was burning again, Wang Shuo returned to the shelter and ordered takeout from Chef Zhang. He opened the chat channel and began to browse other players' chat messages. It's getting dark, it looks like it's going to rain heavily. My shelter is in a depression, what should I do? Haha, I'm on the top of a mountain, let the storm come harder. Is there any humanity upstairs? You are gloating over other people's misfortunes, and you will not die well. Wang Shuo looked at the trading house again. There are more and more people selling bronze keys, and the price has dropped to 1 gold and 50 silver. Some of Wang Shuo's bronze keys are not selling well. It seems that this business will not last long. Should I sell bronze key molds directly? Wang Shuo had such an idea in his mind. To upgrade the courtyard, Wang Shuo still lacks a lot of gold coins and resources, and he must quickly recover a batch of funds. He did it right away. He saw that there were more than 100 pieces of wood, so he made 100 sets of bronze key molds, each set of 10. At the price of 50 gold coins, he directly put it on the trading line. He wanted to advertise in the chat channel, but thought about it and didn't do it. This would easily cause hostility from other key sellers. After a while, several players bought Wang Shuo's bronze key molds. It is better to make them by yourself than to keep buying them. After all, this is a once and for all thing. I checked the upgrade conditions: 2000 wood add 10,000 fire bricks, add 20,000 blue tiles, add 2000 stone, add 20 energy crystals, add 200 iron ore, add 100 gold coins and energy converter. Fire bricks and blue tiles are already being made, and some stone and wood are still needed. At this time, gold coins are also arriving one after another. Wang Shuo directly bought 5,000 wood and 5,000 stone. After the flood, I don't know what will happen. It's better to prepare more resources first. Wood add 5,000, stone add 5,000, gold coins minus 12. The price of wood and stone is currently stable at around 10 copper coins. Since Wang Shuo bought a lot of goods, he still bought some at a high price, but Wang Shuo no longer cares about this little bit of copper coins. Coal at 5,000, gold coins minus 22. The amount of coal used is also very huge. Before, he bought as much as he needed. This time, Wang Shuo directly bought more. Looking at the time, it would take more than an hour for the bricks and tiles to be fired. Wang Shuo planned to make another 4,000 iron arrows in case of emergency. After all, it would take 1,000 iron arrows to fill the arrow tower once. 100 iron arrows equals wood 5113/1, iron ore 700/10, coal 5000/10, feather 500/10. Iron arrows add 4,000, wood minus 40, iron ore minus 400, coal minus 400, feather minus 400. For the current territory defense, the arrow tower can be said to be the most efficient. Wang Shuo directly put 2,000 iron arrows into the arrow tower, but found that the arrow tower at the door had lost more than half of its durability. This scared Wang Shuo. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 35. Arrow Tower, 200 wood add 10 stone add 1 energy add 1000 arrows, can add arrows, durability, 220/500, can be repaired. Wang Shuo quickly consumed 100 wood and 1 energy to repair its durability to the full value. Wang Shuo was relieved now, thinking that he still had the energy tower construction blueprint. Energy tower, 500 stone add 1 soul crystal add 100 energy crystal, energy is exhausted, can be replenished, durability, 1000/1000, consumes a certain amount of energy every 10 seconds, condenses a magic attack of 800 damage, and the attack range is 100 meters. Do you want to build an energy tower? Yes. This attack is much higher than the arrow tower, but the firing speed is a bit slower, which can be regarded as both advantages and disadvantages. With arrow towers and energy towers for long-range combat and golden armored warriors for close combat, the safety factor of Wang Shuo's territory has been greatly improved. At this time, the production of fire bricks was also completed. Wang Shuo went directly to the brick kiln and collected the blue tiles and fire bricks. Suddenly Wang Shuo found that a group of yellow figures shot out directly from the vicinity of a brick kiln, passed by Wang Shuo, and disappeared in the distance. Wang Shuo directly opened the map. Found a red light spot, constantly changing its position in his territory. This was the first time Wang Shuo discovered that there was an invader since he fully controlled the territory. Wang Shuo immediately became alert, quickly collected the blue tiles and fire bricks, and returned to the shelter. Checked the gold coins, deducted the previous consumption of purchasing materials, and there were 451 more, enough to upgrade the courtyard. Wang Shuo looked at the bronze key mold and found that it was not as popular as he imagined. I don't know if other players didn't find it, or they prefer to buy low-priced bronze keys. After all, the unit price of each key is already very low, and there is no need to make it by themselves. These key molds should be sold as much as possible, but there is no way if they can't be sold. All the materials are ready, and the courtyard can be upgraded. Wang Shuo silently recited upgrade Sci-Fi in his heart. Sci-Fi, wood 4933/2000, fire brick 10,000/10,000, green tile 20,000/20,000, stone 4945/2000, energy crystal 1725/20, iron ore 300/200, gold coin 451/100, energy converter 1/1. Are you sure you want to upgrade the residential building to Sci-Fi? Okay. Wood -2000, fire brick -10,000, tile -20,000, stone -2000, energy crystal -20, iron ore -200, gold coin -100, energy converter -1. Sci-Fi is under construction, it will take 12 hours. After doing all this, it was getting dark. Wang Shuo looked at the time. It was only a little after 4 p.m., but it was already equivalent to 6 p.m. before. There were still gusts of cold wind outside. Wang Shuo felt a bit of biting cold, so he returned to the house and added some firewood to the fire pit. Wang Shuo took out the survivor's handbook and turned to the diary page. The 8 words "the flood is coming, pouring into the ocean" were still on it. Humph! Wang Shuo snorted coldly. Next, let me expose your true face. He took out the purification scroll he exchanged from Hadro and used it on the diary. Do you want to purify the residual soul? Before Wang Shuo could speak, the diary finally began to panic, and the words on it disappeared in the blink of an eye. New words formed: Lord, spare my life. I thought you were so tough that you would never beg for mercy even if you died, Wang Shuo sneered with some contempt. Lord, I was wrong. Tell me your origins. The residual soul seemed to be recalling, and seemed to be lost in thought. After becoming Shaoqing, he wrote in his diary, My name is Chang Gui. I used to be a player. Round after round of games are like leeks in the field, cut one crop after another. Not long after, Wang Shuo figured out the ins and outs of the remnant soul Chang Gui. According to him, he was also a player a long time ago. By chance, he realized a talent that could sense danger, so he could always detect danger in advance and find a way to resolve it. But people often seem a little powerless in the face of the general trend. In the face of natural disasters that they cannot resist, what can they do even if they know it in advance? Just like some clever people, they can't achieve great things in the end. But he got a prop in advance that could transfer his soul to the survivor's handbook, thus avoiding being sealed by Lord Zack and becoming a tool man. This decision, in fact, turned out to be extremely stupid. Once the player bound to the survivor's handbook dies or becomes a tool man, the survivor's handbook will be recovered by Lord Zack. In order to avoid the obliteration of his soul, he has to pay a huge price. The souls that become tools still have a chance to wake up, but his soul is like a candle. If it is not replenished, it will only be consumed until it dissipates. Wang Shuo also sighed a little. He had no choice when he came to this world. But now is not the time to sympathize with others. Wang Shuo pondered for a while before slowly asking, Give me a reason not to purify you. Wang Shuo seemed to be giving him a reason to convince himself, and seemed to be trying to find out what value the remnant soul Chang Gui still had. An old player can definitely bring him some unexpected benefits. After all, with the guidance of his seniors, he can avoid many detours. But Chang Gui gave Wang Shuo an extremely dangerous feeling. There is no guarantee that the boat will capsize in the sewer ditch, which puts Wang Shuo in a dilemma. I can give you an early warning, and I also know some future game processes, Chang Gui said with some urgency as if to grasp the last straw, not wanting to die. Wang Shuo also took a fancy to this aspect of him. From the beginning, he was able to accurately predict treasure chests and crocodiles. Although the information was incomplete, it also brought him great convenience. It's best as you said. If I die, I will purify you before I die, Wang Shuo threatened. Don't dare, Chang Gui quickly wrote in his diary again. Seeing that Wang Shuo no longer purified him, Chang Gui boldly said to Wang Shuo, Lord, my soul power is already very weak. Can you give me a soul crystal first to supplement some soul power? Haha, you want to be rewarded before you have done anything. What a beautiful thought you have. Wang Shuo has no intention of giving him any improvement in strength now. If the tiger hurts someone, he will shoot himself in the foot. Immediately, Wang Shuo asked about the flood situation. The two chatted for a long time, and learned from Chang Gui that the intensity of this flood test is different, and it often has a lot to do with the player's strength and the terrain where he is. If the shelter is in a depression, it's basically a death sentence. A swampy terrain like Wang Shuo's is basically a death sentence. Wang Shuo suddenly felt scared. Fortunately, he bought a waterproof sky cover, otherwise he would have been really cold. At the same time, Wang Shuo also learned that Chang Gui had been consuming his soul power for a long time, and his perception of danger had dropped. In addition, for many things, he had to see the same scene or object before he could recall some relevant information. This made Wang Shuo disappointed for a while. He originally thought he had met a know-it-all, but he didn't expect that he had big flaws. However, as long as he didn't get cheated, it was better than nothing. Of course, these abilities can be improved by giving him soul crystals. Chang Gui just tried to improve himself by changing the method, which was a conspiracy. At this time, Wang Shuo was still in the observation period for Chang Gui, and he would never raise a tiger to cause trouble. For this flood, we can only stop it with soldiers, and the water will cover it with soil. Around 4 o'clock in the morning, a system emergency notification sounded. The Sci-fi is about to be upgraded. Players are asked to leave the shelter. Wang Shuo hurriedly walked to the courtyard, but the system prompt was still there. Wang Shuo had no choice but to retreat outside the courtyard wall. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 36. At this time, it was pitch black all around, nothing could be seen clearly, and the cold wind was howling, freezing cold. Wang Shuo was shivering with cold for a while. Fortunately, not long after, the system prompt sounded again. The Sci-fi has been upgraded. Unlock more buildable buildings, please explore by yourself. After the system prompt ended, Wang Shuo couldn't wait to push open the gate of the courtyard wall. As soon as he stepped in, Wang Shuo was shocked and couldn't believe it. Because there were lights in the courtyard in front of him. Modern lights illuminated the entire Sci-fi. At the gate was a jade disc with a pattern of two fish playing with pearls carved on it. Enter from the left and come to the courtyard. The size of the courtyard is still about 100 square meters, but there are houses on 3 sides. The front has been upgraded to a 2-story building. The corridors around are illuminated by lights, and there are carved patterns on each pillar. Grand, luxurious, Wang Shuo couldn't help but exclaimed. At this moment, he was no longer sleepy and was interested in visiting his new home. The style of the main room had not changed much, and it still retained its previous appearance, but his bedroom had been moved upstairs. The antique carved bed was covered with a thick and warm quilt, and the temperature inside was much higher than outside, as if it was constant temperature. Could there be a generator or central air conditioning? Wang Shuo couldn't help but guess this in his heart. There were a total of 5 rooms upstairs, a living room, and a study. The remaining 2 rooms had no obvious functions. The hall downstairs was even more spacious and grand, and it didn't seem crowded even if it accommodated 50 people. Behind the hall, there was a small house with Territory Core written on the lintel. Pushing open the door, he saw a half-person high round platform with a complex pattern carved on it. In the center, the heart of the shelter he had seen at the beginning was inlaid. At the same time, this disc was protected by a light blue light curtain, with a durability of 5000/5000. It seemed that this house must be a very important place. There are 2 small houses on both sides of the hall. It is still empty now, and Wang Shuo is not sure about its function. Wang Shuo went to the east wing through the corridor. There are also 3 rooms in a row. The middle house contains the items from the previous workshop. The system prompts him that it can be upgraded to a blacksmith shop. Wang Shuo did not upgrade immediately, but walked to the west and took a look at the 3 west wing rooms. One of the houses is the warehouse. The arrow tower and energy tower stand directly in the corner of the courtyard. The kitchen and well have been moved to the backyard, and the toilet has finally become flushable. This made Wang Shuo smile. At this time, Wang Shuo saw the farm and farmland in the distance, which seemed a little inconsistent. It seems that they must be moved out. But it still has to wait until after the flood. The lamb in the farm is growing very fast and has become a half-grown goat. He took out some grass and fed it to the lamb. But at this time, Wang Shuo frowned and looked puzzled. Why is there one missing? Wang Shuo carefully checked the sheepfold and found that there was no dead lamb. This made Wang Shuo alert. The crops in the farmland can be harvested in a few hours. After Wang Shuo checked, he planned to go back to the house. After all, the temperature outside was still very low. Suddenly, a drop of cold rain fell on Wang Shuo's face, and it began to drizzle in the sky. Wang Shuo had an ominous premonition that the flood was coming. Back in the house, at this time, there was a player in the chat channel joking, "It's raining, collect clothes." He didn't realize that this was the prelude to the flood. Wang Shuo naturally got more information than other players through Changgui, and he was more worried. Don't you know that there will be a flood tomorrow? I advise everyone to prepare flood fighting materials quickly, so as not to be washed away by the flood. Haha, I have built a big boat, so I am not afraid of any big flood. Ark, let me know. Oh my god, are you all so well prepared? Can't my solid stone house stop the flood? Some people, like Wang Shuo, are well prepared, while others don't take it seriously at all. I don't know whether these people are fearless and have shelter on the top of the mountain, or whether they are ignorant and fearless, and are a big fool. It was not until 8:30 in the morning that there was a glimmer of light in the sky. A few days ago, it was already bright at this time. Wang Shuo walked to the gate, and the rain in front of him was getting heavier and heavier. It was like silk threads just now, but soon it was like a bead curtain. After a while, it was like pouring, and it was really a heavy rain. Many players may have never seen such heavy rain in their lives. Wang Shuo thought of the lambs and chickens in his backyard. Hurry up and get them into the house, and then lock them in the kitchen. The rice and other crops he planted were not yet fully mature, so Wang Shuo quickly used a rapid growth scroll. Do you want to use the rapid growth scroll on the crops? Yes. In the blink of an eye, all the crops were mature. Wang Shuo quickly collected them. Rice add 100, wheat add 100, potatoes add 120. After doing all this, Wang Shuo was soaked all over. He returned to the house, took a quick shower, and changed into clean clothes. After upgrading the courtyard, Wang Shuo's toilet had a shower room with a constant supply of hot water, and he could even take a bath. This made Wang Shuo very satisfied, and he could only attribute it to the magic of the energy crystal and the energy converter. Looking out the window again, in just a dozen minutes, Wang Shuo's entire front yard had been flooded to his knees. Seeing that the situation at home was quite bad, Wang Shuo opened the chat channel. Oh my god. The river near my home seems to be angry, and the water level has risen sharply, as if it has eaten gunpowder. My house has started to flood. I am hiding in bed now, shivering. What should I do? Damn, this is more terrible than acid rain. My bed is floating. Fortunately, my shelter is on a hillside, so there is no problem for the time being. It doesn't matter in the desert. Wang Shuo saw that facing the heavy rain, some families were happy and some were sad. There are really people who can sit back and relax. Wang Shuo contacted a few friends and found that the desert boss had directly hid in the mine cave and blocked the cave entrance, so there was no wind or rain. Lu Dehai also built a big boat. What a guy, he knows a lot. Seeing that the rain was getting more and more and was about to flood into the house, Wang Shuo no longer cared so much and took out the flood prevention props he bought at a high price. Waterproof sky curtain. After use, you can open a protective shield, consuming 1 energy crystal every hour. Wang Shuo had no idea how many hours this flood would last. In order to save energy crystals, after all, it is 10 gold coins, so let's wait a little longer. If you can't hold on, use it again. Wang Shuo hurried to the courtyard and sealed all the places on the wall. Then he summoned the golden armored warriors, free labor, and scooped water directly outside the courtyard wall. Although it was a drop in the bucket, it could at least slow down the speed of being flooded. Facts have proved that Wang Shuo thought too much. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 37. Even if there was a person who could defeat the bronze boss, there was no way to use 2 buckets to fight against the heavy rain. Wang Shuo gave up after holding on for less than 5 minutes. Wang Shuo had to build another wall under the eaves. This could effectively resist the speed of the flood flooding into the houses. Finally, at 12 o'clock in the evening, there was already a vast ocean outside the house. Seeing his house soaked in water, Wang Shuo was also a little anxious. This was his property and could not be destroyed like this. Use the waterproof sky curtain. A huge light curtain was immediately propped up, like a pot cover, and the water in the light curtain was automatically discharged. Moreover, the size of the light curtain can be adjusted within a certain range. Wang Shuo adjusted the light curtain to cover the entire wall, and the heavy rain in the sky had nothing to do with him. It was quite magical. Wang Shuo put 24 energy crystals into the waterproof sky curtain and held on for 1 day. At this time, the current number of survivors began to decrease at a speed visible to the naked eye. 2571/10,000, 2556/10,000. The numbers kept decreasing, and Wang Shuo felt scared. The intensity of this flood far exceeded the expectations of some players. Those players who were not well prepared or unable to prepare began to be eliminated at a very fast speed. When Wang Shuo came outside the house the next morning, he saw that the entire light curtain was flooded, and the entire light curtain was already under the water. Not knowing whether the heavy rain was still falling, Wang Shuo got some food, and the number of people had dropped to 1,500. Nearly 2,000 people were eliminated overnight. Open the chat channel. How are you all? I can't hold on, Gilu, Gilu. Help, help. This was a crying voice, and it was a girl. Wang Shuo took another bite of the pancake he made, and could only remain silent. In the chat channel, only a few people occasionally said a few words, most people were silent, and more people had no chance to speak again. In the face of absolute natural disasters, players seemed particularly helpless. Even those players who built big ships fell. Floods cannot guarantee that the ship will not capsize or sink. At this moment, Wang Shuo noticed that the light curtain countdown was only 16 hours. I hope the flood will recede today. He opened the side quest again. The Hope at Dawn quest actually had a countdown. At this time, there were still 22 hours before the end of the quest, which means it will end at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And Wangshuo's waterproof sky shading curtain can only last until 12 o'clock tonight, which is still 8 hours away. I don't know if I need to invest energy crystals in the waterproof sky shading curtain. Based on the principle of saving as much as possible, he hurried to the yard and planned to build a high platform so that he could stand on it. But when he opened his backpack, he found that there was not a single fire brick left. In desperation, he could only use wood to make a huge raft. In the evening, Wangshuo learned from the chat channel that the rain had stopped. This rain lasted for 24 hours. The rest of the time was to wait for the flood to recede. Until 12 o'clock in the night, the height of the flood still exceeded the top of the waterproof canopy, and Wangshuo had to invest 8 energy crystals again. Wangshuo did not sleep all night yesterday. At this time, he finally couldn't hold on any longer. He planned to sleep for a while and get up to see the situation around 5 o'clock. That night, Wangshuo had 2 dreams. In the first dream, he dreamed that he was wearing a yellow robe and he could get 100 responses. Gradually, he lost himself in the cheers of countless people. In the second dream, he dreamed that he became a tool man, digging in the dark mine day and night. Every day was such a monotonous and boring day, and then he died of old age. Suddenly woke up, the time was exactly 5:30, and the flood had receded to the height of the wall. He didn't know where all the floods went, just like he didn't know how such a big flood suddenly appeared. He could only attribute everything to the masterpiece of Lord Zack. Wangshuo checked his friends and found that Chef Zhang, Duan Wengzi, Zhao Shanhe, and others were still alive. He didn't know how they avoided the flood. 2 hours passed quickly. At 8 o'clock in the morning on the 14th day, Lord Zack's voice rang in the minds of every surviving player. Congratulations to all players for successfully completing the Hope at Dawn mission. The voice that every player disliked the most before was like a heavenly sound at this time. He announced that every player could live for a while longer. Who would want to die if they could survive? There are still 1,357 surviving players now, which is more than expected. The strength of your players is still very good. The current ranking is now announced. 10th place, Yetianba. 9th place, Zhang Yang. 8th place, Lu Dehai. 7th place, Yu Ji. 6th place, Zhao Shanhe. 5th place, Wu Han. 4th place, Zhao Tians. 3rd place, Zeta. 2nd place, Sushiu. 1st place, Wangshuo. Yetianba, ha ha ha, I said I would definitely survive. In the next world, there will be a place for me, Yetianba. Zhao Tians, I am the son of destiny. How could I be ranked 4th? What kind of shit luck did Wangshuo have? Oh my god, I have already upgraded the stone house. How could I not be on the list? Impossible. There must be an inside story. I have 8,000 gold coins. How could I lose to them? Lord Zack, are you mistaken? I don't accept it. My IQ is 179. How could I not be on the list? Yuji, I was scared to death. Fortunately, I was on the list. At this time, the chat channel was in chaos, and the players' speeches were swiping the screen at a very fast speed. Lord Zack did not pay attention to the complaints of these players. Now start the elimination round after 8 days, or when the number of people drops to 100, we will start the village building order competition. After Lord Zack announced the rules, the chat channel fell into a strange silence. Every player realized that everyone else had become his competitor. They were really enemies all over the world. Many active players had already started to contact their friends privately, wanting to form an alliance. After all, there were 100 places available, and as long as they could develop together, it was not impossible to enter the top 100. Players on the list were the first choice for alliance. Some players also started to form cliques directly in the chat channel. It was nothing more than grouping together for warmth, resource sharing, and common development. Some players on the list also began to publicly recruit younger brothers. At this time, Wang Shuo's friends' private messages and new friends added started to increase by 99 plus again. He was temporarily ranked first at this time, and naturally he had the most people to curry favor with. Wang Shuo wanted to think about the alliance carefully, but in the flood outside the wall, a floating wooden stake attracted his attention. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 38. Wang Shuo came to the wall. The flood receded very quickly. At this time, there was still a half-person high flood. On the wooden stake floating in the flood, there was a yellowish-brown puppy. If you don't look carefully, it's really hard to tell. Woof, woof, the puppy saw Wang Shuo and barked twice. The voice was soft and weak. It seemed to be asking for help, and it seemed to be lamenting that it could survive the disaster. This puppy naturally ran out of Hadro's shop. It thought it could live a carefree life, but it didn't expect that it would encounter a flood. It's really hard for a dog. For the past 2 days, it has been soaking in the water, cold and hungry. If it hadn't found this wooden stake, it might have died. At this moment, it missed the time when its owner took care of it. After this disaster, it was determined to find an owner and never run around again. And Wang Shuo in front of it seemed to be sent by God to save it, allowing it to see the dawn of survival. Wang Shuo looked at the small map, and the dog also turned into a yellow light dot. It was red at first, but now it turned yellow. Wang Shuo was a little confused about the reason. Wang Shuo thought for a while and ordered the golden armored warrior to drag the wooden stake with the puppy on it. The puppy was put in the courtyard. At this moment, it didn't even have the strength to stand. It was wet all over, and the wet dog hair and mud were stuck together, which looked very ugly. Let's roast it first. If it can survive, roast it by the fire. If it can't survive, roast it on the fire, Wang Shuo said silently. The feeling of surviving a disaster is not only felt by the dog, but also by Wang Shuo at this moment. He put away the waterproof sky curtain and found that it can be reused. It is really a rare good thing. In order to reward himself, Wang Shuo directly roasted a sheep that had not been driven back to the farm. This behavior made the dog by the fire feel a little scared. After recovering some mobility, it kept a distance from Wang Shuo. But when the lamb was roasted, it didn't care about being afraid and looked at Wang Shuo eagerly. Wang Shuo took a bite and it tasted great. The color was burnt and shiny, not greasy or smelly, and the meat was tender and delicious. Seeing this, the dog next to him barked, "Woof, woof. After eating my roasted lamb leg, you have to listen to me and follow me in the future. Do you hear me clearly?" Wang Shuo joked to the dog. The dog barked twice again. At this time, Wang Shuo found that the yellow light dot represented by the dog on the map turned green. And there was a system prompt. Get a pet. Is this okay? Looking at the cocky puppy in front of him, Wang Shuo was a little disgusted and threw the lamb leg he had bitten in his hand to it. After eating, you still have to give it a bath, Wang Shuo frowned. When the dog finished eating the whole lamb leg, Wang Shuo was really surprised. This dog has a big appetite. Maybe it's too hungry. After it recovered its strength, Wang Shuo gave it a bath with hot water. From now on, you'll be called De Huang. Back in the hall, sitting on the armchair, Wang Shuo began to think about his future plans. The start of the elimination round seemed to hang a sword over the heads of every player. Although Wang Shuo was a little surprised to be ranked first temporarily, it did not give him a great sense of security. If he didn't work hard, he would be eliminated sooner or later. In order to maintain his leading edge, it was time to go to the void battlefield. The flood outside the house finally subsided, leaving only turbid muddy water in the pond. Wang Shuo and the golden armor warriors simply cleaned up the traces left by the flood, and moved the farm and farmland to the edge of the pond. By the way, they fed the chickens and goats. At this moment, the chickens can lay eggs, and the goats can also give birth. This made Wang Shuo's food source initially stable. After planting crops in the farmland, he began to pack his backpack and prepare for entering the void battlefield. After preparing weapons, food, and other supplies, he ate a large piece of roasted lamb that he had not finished in the morning. Wang Shuo came to the gate of the void. "Do you want to enter the void battlefield?" "Yes." The scene changed, and Wang Shuo felt dizzy. After a while, Wang Shuo began to notice that he was actually in a vast desert. "Woof, woof." De Wang's voice surprised Wang Shuo. Wang Shuo did not intend to bring De Huang to adventure here. It seems that it followed secretly. The wind around was strong, and some wind and sand were flying in the air, making Wang Shuo unable to open his eyes. After exploring around, except for the gullies left by the erosion of wind and sand, there were gravel all over the ground. Wang Shuo felt bad instantly. He randomly chose a direction and walked a distance. Wang Shuo found a lot of bones, and some broken weapons and armor were scattered around, but unfortunately they were all unusable. This was clearly a battlefield, but it was unknown how many years ago the war took place. It looked like it was quite old. "Agi, do you know where this is?" "It looks like a copy." "Nonsense." Looking at the creepy scene around him, Wang Shuo was still a little scared. Fortunately, there was a dog accompanying him, giving him the courage to continue exploring. Suddenly, Wang Shuo discovered that there were red light spots flashing on his map page. The map at this time shows an area approximately 500 meters in radius. Wang Shuo was wary and looked to the left. He saw a blurry black figure in the distance, rushing towards Wang Shuo quickly. Wang Shuo immediately summoned his gold medal fighter, the golden armor warrior, from his backpack. Soon, the black shadow came to Wang Shuo. Wang Shuo quickly ordered the golden armored warriors to greet him, but the result was that Wang Shuo stood stunned on the spot. The black shadow had no entity and penetrated directly. This made Wang Shuo quite depressed. Wang Shuo didn't dare to bet whether this black shadow could hurt him. I quickly checked it with the eye of breaking delusion. Ghost. Grade : Class. Attack power. Defense. Health value. Skill, soul draining, which can cause damage to creatures with souls. Evaluation: the third level undead unit in the ancient battlefield has no entity and is immune to physical attacks. It's all a row of question marks, and you can't even see the level. It's obviously much higher than yourself, and it can cause damage to the soul, so you don't become an idiot. Thinking that Chang Gui also has a soul body, Wang Shuo asked directly, "Agi, do you know this kind of monster? Do you have any way to deal with him?" After a while, Chang Gui seemed to have remembered it, and suddenly said, "My lord, run. The level of this ghost should be above level 20, but you can try it with the purification scroll." Wang Shuo quickly took out the purification scroll and used it on the ghost. A -10 number immediately appeared on the ghost's head, which obviously caused damage to it. But one scroll only caused 10 points of damage, which was simply terrifying. Wang Shuo only had this purification scroll, so he had no choice but to run away. Without any time to think, Wang Shuo put the golden armored warrior into his backpack and ran away. Woof, woof. Wang Shuo saw that rhubarb was too slow, so he hugged it in his arms and continued running. At this time, he was wearing crocodile leather boots, and his agility value had reached 9. He was already running very fast, and naturally the dog couldn't catch up. After running for a while, Wang Shuo found that the ghost did not follow him, so he hid behind a boulder, panting. Before resting for a moment, De Wang started barking again. "You want to die," Wang Shuo cursed in a low voice. He walked to the boulder and saw that the ghost was chasing after him again. "It's really haunting." In desperation, Wang Shuo had no choice but to continue running. Along the way, Wang Shuo encountered more and more ghosts. In addition to ghosts, there is also a kind of ghost called injustice, which looks more ferocious. Some of these monsters wandered alone, while others roamed in groups of 3 or 5 in the vast Gobi desert. Every time he encountered this situation, Wang Shuo could only stay away, but this time, Wang Shuo's luck seemed to have run out. There were dozens of ghosts and innocent souls in front of him, and nearly 10 more followed behind him. He was surrounded. "I'm sorry. It can't be so unlucky. Lord Survival, my shelter in Crocodile territory." Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 39. At this critical moment, Wang Shuo took out a random teleportation scroll. In an instant, Wang Shuo was teleported to another strange place. At this time, the system prompt sounded. "Ancient battlefield, exploration completed 1%, the ancient battlefield map is open." Isn't it the void battlefield? How did it become the ancient battlefield? Wang Shuo was a little puzzled, and turned to the map page, and found that a new page was created on the map page. There was a large area on it, and he was still a small green dot. What made Wang Shuo happy was that the map marked the safe area and the dangerous area. At this moment, Wang Shuo was already at the edge of the safe area. I don't know how far the random distance is this time, it only reaches 1% of the map. After carefully observing the map, the safe area of the entire map is very small, and the dangerous area is displayed in red, and there are more dangerous areas, which can be said to be red and purple. The name of the safe area is the ruined camp. Wang Shuo thought silently and decided to take a look at this so-called camp first. After comparing the direction, he walked towards the ruined camp. Not long after setting off, Wang Shuo saw a human skeleton in the distance, rushing towards him quickly. Use the Eye of Delusion to take a look. Skeleton Soldier. Level 3. Attack Power, 24. Defense Power, 5. Health Value, 750. Skills, none. Evaluation, the most common first-level undead soldier in the ancient battlefield, there is no soldier more rubbish than it. Wang Shuo looked at his naked equipment attributes. ID, 5678 Wang Shuo. Level 5. Strength, 10. Constitution, 15. Agility, 10. Energy, 17. Health value, 650. Defense power, 0. If there is no equipment, his attack power, 10, defense, 0, health value, 650. Wang Shuo silently shed tears. At this moment, he only wanted to say to the skeleton soldier, "Brother Skeleton, I'm sorry for you. I stole your title." He also wanted to say to Lord Zack, "Lord Zack, you are really wrong this time. I can't beat the ghost myself, can I not beat even the worst skeleton soldier?" In order to express respect for the skeleton soldier and test his own strength at the same time, he decided to have a fair duel with the skeleton soldier. Of course, in order to be fair, he still summoned his gold medal fighter, the golden armor warrior, from his backpack as a referee. If the skeleton soldier could think and speak, he would definitely say "Tui, shameless" at this time. The movement speed of the skeleton soldier is obviously much slower than Wang Shuo, about half of that of a normal person. At this time, Wang Shuo's movement speed is already twice that of a normal person, so there is almost no suspense in this battle. Wang Shuo took out an iron axe from his backpack. His excellent quality spear was damaged, so he could only make do with it at this moment. Seeing the skeleton holding a bone knife and taking staggering steps, Wang Shuo kicked it directly. As expected, The bones scattered all over the ground did not appear. The skeleton soldier just took a few steps back. Hey, this skeleton is pretty solid. Wang Shuo began to take it seriously. He held the axe with both hands and smashed the skull of the skeleton soldier hard. With a bang, a gap was cut in the skull of the skeleton soldier, and Wang Shuo's knuckles were also shocked. Your attack caused 20 points of damage to the skeleton soldier. Fortunately, since Wang Shuo's agility was much higher than that of the skeleton soldier, he could basically effectively avoid or resist the attack of the skeleton soldier. In less than a minute, the skeleton soldier finally turned into a pile of bones, and also dropped an energy crystal. Wang Shuo understood that he had a chance to obtain a large number of energy crystals again. Just after killing the skeleton soldiers, another skeleton soldier approached from a distance. Wang Shuo said nothing and directly struck him with an axe. At this time, with an equally matched opponent as a sparring partner, Wang Shuo decided to practice his fighting ability. But he had not yet practiced martial arts, so he was a little unsystematic in fighting. 2 hours later, there were finally no skeleton soldiers around Wang Shuo who could stand. He continued to head towards the ruined camp. I don't know how far I will go. The distance on the map is 10 centimeters, and the actual distance cannot be estimated. Until the evening, the distance on the map was less than 1/3, which made Wang Shuo despair. I should not have come in earlier. He regretted it now. In order to get to the camp as soon as possible, Wang Shuo handed over the skeleton soldiers he met along the way to the golden armor warriors. If he kept rushing here, he would waste time in vain. When the 8 days were up, he would definitely be surpassed by other players. In this knockout match, he might really be eliminated. Ah! He sighed deeply. In the Gobi Desert, the temperature difference between day and night is very large. The temperature at this time is close to 0 degrees. Wang Shuo lit a fire on the spot. He took out food and water and gave some to De Huang. Looking up, Wang Shuo felt a little heavy at the desolate scene around him. After eating the dry food, De Huang, who was lying next to the fire, cried again. Wang Shuo looked around quickly and found that there were more skeleton soldiers approaching in the distance. Is it over yet? Looking closely, this time there was a group of skeleton soldiers, and the one leading was obviously much taller. Wang Shuo investigated and found that it was a skeleton king. Skeleton king. Level 10. Attack, 200. Defense, 20. Health, 1800. Skill, strong attack. There was also a small boss, and Wang Shuo wanted to practice his skills, but there were still a dozen skeleton soldiers around, which made it a bit tricky. Wang Shuo quickly ordered the golden armored warrior to take action and clear the skeleton soldiers first, and he also went up to avoid the skeleton king and began to clear the surrounding skeleton soldiers. Due to the golden armored warrior, the skeleton king was only left with half of his health soon. Wang Shuo decided to fight again. The skeleton king's attack was very high. As long as he was attacked 3 times, Wang Shuo would be in danger. Therefore, he had to deal with it carefully. The bone knife and the battle axe collided, splashing sparks. Wang Shuo chopped on the skeleton king's skeleton several times, but did not directly cut the bones. The physical strength of the skeleton king is more than a little stronger than that of the skeleton soldiers. Fortunately, the golden armored warrior had cut a crack on the bones of the skeleton king's arm before. Wang Shuo attacked the same place as much as possible. After fighting for 10 minutes, he finally cut off his right arm. There was no suspense in the next battle. After another 5 minutes, Wang Shuo killed the skeleton king. Every monster here also has an ID, which Wang Shuo is no longer surprised. Moreover, Wang Shuo can choose to turn off certain information in the system prompt. At this time, the system prompt sounded. You killed the skeleton king and upgraded to level 6. The reward can be allocated 1 free attribute point. Since Wang Shuo has not yet figured out how to allocate free attribute points, There are already 5 attribute points that can be allocated. After a night's rest, he continued on the next day. The closer they got to the camp, the fewer skeleton soldiers there were, and Wang Shuo traveled faster and faster. Finally, on the morning of the 3rd day, Wang Shuo arrived at the camp. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 40. A narrow figure-8 canyon, with a collapsed city wall in front. Inside the city wall, most of the houses have been razed to the ground, and only a few houses still have a few walls standing. The overall area is not small, and can accommodate hundreds of people. Wang Shuo stepped into the camp, and the system prompt sounded. Found a ruined camp, repair the base camp, and activate the camp NPC. Wang Shuo patrolled around and found a base camp. It turned out to be similar to his shelter core. The system prompts that energy crystals can be put in for repair. Wang Shuo killed a lot of skeleton soldiers along the way and collected a lot of energy crystals. He originally had a lot of them, so he directly put in 100 energy crystals. The base camp is being repaired, 1%. Soon, the base camp was repaired, and a tent appeared in front of him. Wang Shuo walked into the base camp and was immediately caught in a scene animation. Countless players are active in this camp. They form teams here to go to the Gobi Desert, kill skeleton soldiers and skeleton knights, obtain resources, return to the camp to rest, exchange items with the NPCs in the camp, build equipment and enhance their strength. But not long after, the overwhelming skeleton soldiers, skeleton knights, wronged souls, and some other undead creatures began to attack the camp. Although many players fought desperately, there were too many undead creatures, and the camp was eventually razed to the ground. After the scene animation ended, the core of the base camp sank into the sand table in the tent, and an uncle with a headscarf on his head appeared in front of Wang Shuo. At first, the uncle's expression was dull, his eyes were dull, and his face was expressionless. After a while, his expression became natural, as if he was reborn. "Hello," Wang Shuo greeted tentatively. "Did you trigger the mission?" "Thank you, brave adventurer. I am Zhao Bangde, the quartermaster of this camp. I am responsible for issuing missions to you. At the same time, you can exchange the items you need from me." Wang Shuo looked at the quartermaster named Zhao Bangde in front of him, and for a moment he was a little confused whether he was a player. After all, he looked too much like a player, but the tone of his voice was a little stiff, as if he deliberately made such a tone. He threw a breaking ice skill. ID JHK 3647 Zhao Bangde. Level. Identity, Quartermaster of Wangfeng Valley Camp, responsible for issuing tasks and exchanging items for players. Captain Zhao, what can you exchange? Young man, I can exchange things here, only you can't think of them, but you can't exchange them. After all, I am now working for Lord Zack. Wang Shuo was shocked. This time he spoke much faster and more fluently. What shocked Wang Shuo even more was that this NPC Zhao Bangde actually knew Lord Zack, which completely overturned Wang Shuo's understanding of NPCs. General system NPCs can only communicate in simple and mechanical ways. What is the situation of Zhao Bangde? How do you know Lord Zack? Zhao Bangde looked at Wang Shuo as if he was looking at an idiot. He looked at Wang Shuo for a while before answering indifferently, "I am my own boss, how could I not know?" Then, he pondered for a while, as if digesting some information. So that's it? You kid, are you still in the novice trial?" He looked as if he had suddenly realized something. "Naturally, I also received a mission and came here to be a quartermaster. As for what I did before, I can't say. Are you a system NPC or a player?" I have no answer for this question. Wang Shuo fell into deeper doubts. Since Zhao Bangde refused or could not answer, Wang Shuo turned to ask Chang Gui. Chang Gui explained, this Zhao Bangde should be a tool man whose soul was sealed by Lord Zak, and was chosen by Lord Zak to be an NPC. By completing Lord Zak's tasks many times, he has the opportunity to awaken all his consciousness and become a player again. In this case, he should have awakened part of his consciousness. You can regard him as an advanced AI. This is also what I said before. Being a tool man, there is still a chance to awaken consciousness. So that's it. Wang Shuo said to Zhao Bangde, do you have any tasks I can accept? Of course. System prompt, Quartermaster Zhao Bangde has issued a task to you. Do you accept it? Task 1, repair the camp, build at least 2 houses and repair the city wall. Task reward, horse brand ×1, riding skill book ×1, military merit points, 50 points. Task 2, kill 100 skeleton soldiers to prove your strength. Reward, avoid positioning stone, military merit points, 200 points. Accept. Repairing the camp can not only enhance one's own safety, but also obtain rich rewards, so Wang Shuo is naturally very happy. The void positioning stone should be bound to the void portal in one's territory, and then one will not be teleported immediately when entering the void battlefield. This thing must be obtained. Wang Shuo stopped talking nonsense and searched around. Found a dry well buried by wind and sand. It seems that there should be a water source here. Wang Shuo immediately built a well on the original site. After having water, mud pits and clay can be made in large quantities, and then kilns can be used to make bricks, build houses, and repair city walls. Everything went smoothly. By noon, Wang Shuo had successfully obtained 10,000 pieces of clay and started to make brick kilns. Fortunately, he had brought a lot of supplies before, otherwise there would be big problems. Seeing Wang Shuo's busy figure, Zhao Bangde got a pot of tea from somewhere and sat leisurely on a recliner, which made Wang Shuo grit his teeth. Soon, Wang Shuo built 2 houses. Then he started to repair the city wall. The length of the city wall was about 50 meters. It seemed that it would take 1 day to complete the repair. In the evening, Wang Shuo lit a bonfire and roasted meat. Zhao Bangde, who smelled the fragrance, also came over. It smells so good. I haven't eaten barbecue for a long time. Wang Shuo rolled his eyes at him and roasted meat by himself. Seeing that Wang Shuo ignored him, Zhao Bangde was a little angry. This young man was not smart. Shouldn't this be the best time for him to curry favor with him? Wang Shuo didn't want to bother with the old man at this moment. When he was working hard to repair the camp, he didn't even come to help. He even asked me to do something about the house he lived in. Boy, if you can serve me with good wine and good food, I will tell you some information about the Yellow Wind Valley camp, so that you can avoid taking detours. Wang Shuo was still alone, enjoying the barbecue. Under the night sky, the cold wind was rustling. Zhao Bangde waited for a long time, but Wang Shuo didn't take any action, and finally got angry. But as an NPC, he couldn't do anything before the player attacked him. He could only sulk alone, and couldn't even snatch Wang Shuo's food. This was the limitation given to him by the system. After thinking for a while, he thought of a good way. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 41. Bond Zhao grinned and directly transformed some of the items he could redeem. Golden spears, golden armors, war horses, various construction drawings, special tokens, skills, techniques. Showed them one by one. While showing it, he also introduced, the set of skills in my hand is called Opening Heaven Palm. It has 13 levels in total. Each level can provide players with all attributes add 1. This is a bloodthirsty sword with no level restrictions. Each attack can restore life with 30% of the attack power, making you braver as you fight. Become a truly lasting man. Finally, Wang Shuo couldn't bear it anymore. These things are all good things. If he could get it from Zhao Bond, his strength would definitely increase greatly. Can you really exchange these things for me? Wang Shuo asked doubtfully. Zhao Bang showed a harmless smile and said lightly, "Of course, I am just an NPC, what bad intentions can I have? Oh well." After that, Wang Shuo handed him a piece of grilled crocodile meat. Since there were a lot of condiments sprinkled on it, it tasted very good. Zhao Ban took a bite and chewed slowly. Maybe it was because he hadn't eaten for a long time, but he felt very satisfied. Crisp and refreshing, with a mouthful of aroma, it made him very intoxicated. It would be even better if there was a bottle of wine. He said to himself. I don't have any wine. Seeing that the other party was taking advantage of the situation, Wang Shuo looked a little unhappy and directly rejected his request. Bond Zhao grinned and said calmly, "You don't have it, I have it here." Immediately afterwards, he took out a small ceramic bottle with 100 flowers brewing written on it. This bottle of wine only requires 100 energy crystals. You can buy it for me to drink. Wang Shuo laughed angrily, frowned, and shouted loudly, "I'm afraid you drank too much fake wine. You asked me to buy you your own wine, why are you so thick-skinned?" "If only it were mine," Zhao Ban sighed and said helplessly, "I am a warehouse manager." Wang Shuo was silent for a while, and then decisively refused. "Are you kidding me? 100 energy crystals, did I take the wrong medicine? It's a waste of money." "No, this is too expensive," Wang Shuo shook his head like a rattle. Zhao Ban did not expect Wang Shuo to buy Beiwa brew for him. So he took out another bottle, this time it only had 10 energy crystals. Wang Shuo still refused. "Your minimum consumption is settled with energy crystals. I'll give you a maximum of 10 silver coins if I treat you to a drink, no more." Thinking about the purchasing power of 1 gold coin, 10 silver coins are enough to make Wang Shuo feel distressed. At this time, Wang Shuo thought of Chef Zhang. Let's see if we can get some wine from him. If we can have some good dishes, I think Zhao Bond will be more satisfied. Wang Shuo immediately searched for wine and food in the trading house, and actually found the ale brewed by Chef Zhang and the latest dishes. Wang Shuo directly spent 10 silver coins to buy a luxurious table of wine and food. It was very sincere, after all, he himself was reluctant to eat like this. In the stone house, Zhao Bang's mouth watered when he saw the food and wine prepared by Wang Shuo. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, the two of them exchanged glasses and seemed to have begun calling themselves brothers. Although it was ale, Wang Shuo's drinking capacity was really unflattering, and he soon became drunk. Most of the ale he bought was drunk by Zhao Bond. Zhao Banged is an old drunkard. He repeatedly urged Wang Shuo to buy wine on the way, which was like a bottomless pit. Seeing the unconscious Wang Shuo, Zhao Banged smiled and liked the boy a lot. Early the next morning, Wang Shuo woke up, still a little dizzy. When he walked out the door, he found that Zhao Bond was boxing. Unexpectedly, this NPC is also a self-disciplined NPC. This surprised Wang Shuo. "You're awake," Zhao Bond finished the boxing and smiled at Wang Shuo. Yes, Wang Shuo came to the well, filled a basin of cold water, washed his face, and suddenly became more awake. "What kind of boxing are you doing?" Wang Shuo asked casually. "Do you want to learn? I have many techniques that can be redeemed here." Wang Shuo suddenly became energetic. "Before exchanging the skills, let me tell you the basic situation of this copy of Yellow Wind Valley. This is just for the sake of yesterday's table of wine and food. It's actually very simple. You first need to repair the camp, kill the monsters outside the camp, exchange items with me, improve your strength, and then kill the final boss here to completely control this dungeon. In this way, my mission is completed. From now on, This copy will completely become your back garden. After hearing Zhao Ban's introduction, Wang Shuo understood a lot, but still had some doubts, so he asked, "The weapons and techniques you showed me yesterday can be redeemed by killing monsters outside?" "Theoretically, yes, I am responsible for issuing missions to you and distributing rewards. However, there are some good things and the required military merit points that you may not be able to collect in a short time." "What is the military merit point?" "Every time you kill an undead monster, you will get military merit points. In this copy, they will be automatically counted and used as a voucher for you to redeem items." "Let me take a look first. What good things do you have here?" Half an hour later, Wang Shuo took a breath of cold air. "How is it?" "There are a lot of good things," Zhao Ban smiled proudly. "The output in this dungeon is of great help to the players in the early stages of the trial. You can say that you have found a treasure." Zhao Ban was a little envious. If he had been able to get such an opportunity when he was a novice in the trial, he would not have so many regrets. "Tell me, how did you get this copy?" Zhao Ban asked with interest. "It's in my territory. I used 500 energy crystals to repair a portal and came over," Wang Shuo replied casually. Zhao Bang raised his eyebrows, obviously not believing it, and asked suspiciously, "You are a newbie in the novice trial space, where did you get 500 energy crystals?" "As far as I know, the total number of energy crystals in each novice trial space is also no more than 100 pieces. I encountered an encirclement and suppression by 3 tribes." After Zhao Ban heard this, he was horrified, and at the same time he admired Wang Shuo even more. After a while, Zhao Ban said, "Today you repair the city wall first. At the same time, you can send your golden armored warriors to kill skeleton soldiers nearby. This will speed up the progress of the mission. During the entire mission, I cannot directly meddling." After Wang Shuo heard this, he was very grateful to Zhao Ban. "So, I bought him some wine and food, and after taking a few bites, I devoted myself to the work of repairing the city wall." The Void Battlefield, as the name suggests, is a battlefield located in the void. And the ancient battlefield is just the tip of the iceberg. Similarly, Yellow Wind Valley is only a very small area in the void battlefield. Many great lords and city lords have always used the void battlefield as a place for military training. The materials produced there can greatly enhance the strength of the territory. But at the same time, it is also full of dangers. If you are not careful, you may risk falling. The wind and sand in the Yellow Wind Valley were very strong. Zhao Ban held up an energy shield, enjoying the food, looking at the busy Wang Shuo, and recalling some of his past events. Recalling the past can help restore memory, but excessive recollection will stimulate their incomplete memory and cause severe headaches. Zhao Bandang has done this kind of thing not once or twice, so he is naturally very measured. When he was bored, he often recalled how he came into this world, and how he withdrew from the road of hegemony and became a tool man. These memories range from bitter to sweet. What Zhao Ban has never been able to forget is a girl named Ki.